is not about how ethical you are. This life is not going to be kind to the people who want to be right, right? You will hear these kind of analogies so many times. Yeah, you can be good, you can be honest, but this life is, this world is a jungle. And you have to be the wolf, right? You have to be the one who take your right and literally drag your own right from the others. And it literally is a fight. This comparison, and there is a famous book even written in this matter, that the dunya is a jungle. The mentality is that everything is difficult, everything is hard, and you have the right to do whatever is necessary. There are some red lines that you can't pass, because if you advocate for such a violent method to gain the dunya, people will frown upon you, right? The reality is that our values and moralities become so relative. There was this recent poll in the United States done by one of the reliable sources that they usually, when it comes to statistic and numbers, a lot of numbers out there are not really reliable. How they did it and how they collected the sample is not really authentic. But one of the recent one, it refers to the perception of morality in the United States. And it shows that in the last few decades, the meaning of morality in so many concepts has been shifting. What we consider morally right in 1970s is very different from what we consider morally right in 2018. It could be so many controversial aspects of life. And the reason is because, as I said, the morality become more of a relative concept. Not everything is good all the time, not everything bad all the time. It could be good today and bad tomorrow, or vice versa. It could be our approach toward homosexuality, it could be our approach toward using drugs such as marijuana, it could be about so many other topics. The issue with that kind of thinking is that the reality of good and bad is not going to be determined that easily. So when it comes to dress codes, right? How we dress, men and women, doesn't matter. What we consider modest, again, 20 years ago, 30 years ago in the United States and Canada, in the West, even in our Muslim countries, 30 years ago, 40 years ago is very different from what we consider modest today. And this approach to morality, unfortunately, make us question our own values. Because when you go to, on Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram or any other social media, and you want to post something, if it's somehow against the relatively considered morally right at this time, and you say something that opposes that, what will happen? You will be viciously attacked for your opinion. You're forced to conform. You're forced to say what others say in order to be accepted. And if you don't believe and if you don't accept what others accept, you will be the odd one, you will be the called weirdo, you will be the one that cannot, you cannot really understand the mentality of living in the West. But when you look at the perspective of religion, when we talk about good and bad, for example, in the last few nights we were talking about ma'ad, right? So when it comes to death, all of us, we believe that we die. There's no one that denies the death as a reality. But the word ma'ad means the return. The whole concept is about that what happens so we die, what happens after. Is there more to life than what we are experiencing right now, or that's it? This is all it is. The final chapter is here, the book will be closed, and that's it. A believer says, no, there is more to life than this. The ma'ad, the return, means whatever you planted here will be time of harvest in that dunya, and there will be questions. إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. When it comes to every part of our existence, we are responsible. We will be accountable, held accountable for them. And there are questions coming. Mas'ul means the one that will be asked, the one that will be questioned. In Arabic language, mas'ul means the one with responsibility. Why they use the word mas'ul? The source of the mas'ul comes from su'al, question. Because the one who's responsible will be questioned. Why did you do it? Why you didn't do it? Why you didn't do it properly? And we believe in this dunya, we are responsible. We have so many blessings that we will be responsible to answer for them. Life, talents, wealth, intelligence, beauty, all these gifts that we have, we will be held accountable for them. How did you utilize these resources? And that's the big difference between a belief in ma'ad, the return, and believe in just death. That's it. You die and that's over. Ma'ad means it's not over. When you say, I believe in the foundation of my religion, Day of Judgment, Qiyamah, Ma'ad is one of them, it means that you believe in the questioning. You believe that you will be held accountable and every person will be responsible for their action. And Quran said, for your own action, you will be responsible. Everything you say, everything you do, you'll be responsible. And with that approach, by the way, our morality will be very different. It's not about what people think is good or bad. It's about that because you have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to people. Even if people consider and perceive something as evil, but if that's what something you know is right and you have to answer for that, you will not be that much concerned with that. The question is that just the clash of modernism with traditional life? That the morality is relative? The reality one is, when you look at Quran, we see, no, it's not like that. Even prior to our Prophet, we're talking about 1,000 years ago, at the time of the other Prophet, those who were dealing with their own people, like Nuh alayhi salam, Ayyub alayhi salam, Lut alayhi salam. We see even at the time of Prophet Lut alayhi salam, right? This Prophet of God is dealing with people that, in their opinion, morality is relative. The wife of Prophet Lut alayhi salam is okay with the whole act of indecency at the time. So we understand it's not something that majority of people object to it. Majority of people are in favor of it. Majority of people are considering that act of indecency as acceptable. So this idea of let's shift what is the meaning of something to be right and wrong, let's shift ethic, let's shift morality to what is considered more suitable for what we consider is right and wrong, has been in our history for thousands of years. We see it in Musa alayhi salam's story. That has been there. That people consider that is okay, that we can move things around. So the return, the final return of the man, the ma'ad, we finished one of the names of it, the day of regret, right? So that was the negative aspect of Day of Judgment. We don't want to just talk about all the misery of Day of Judgment, because there are blessings in the Day of Judgment as well. Those who will build a miserable qiyamah and a miserable return for themselves, and there will be those who have a miraculous, beautiful, enjoyable, that it's literally, from every aspect, peaceful qiyamah for them. It will be a great return. It's like, when we talk about metaphors, if you see a basketball player who has some injury and they are not in the field for a long time, or in football, they could have a great return or they can have a very bad return. Right? They depend on the recovery period, depend on the extent of their injury and all that. For the man, is the same story. We're living in this dunya, which unfortunately is not very pleasant. It is very difficult. It is kabad. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. But our return could be very great or very bad. Who's making that decision? We do. But I want to give you a reference, because in these nights, so in the half of it, I covered the return of those who unfortunately return to Qiyamah and the return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we consider them with regret. So that's one side. But inshallah, in the coming nights, I will talk about the other side. Those who will return to the Day of Judgment with greatness, with grace, without any misery, with honor, they will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Jahl, when he was killed, we have that when he was on the ground prior to his death, one of the Muslims told him, repent now. For years, by the way, Abu Jahl's name was what? Abu Hakam. Hakam come from the hikmah, the wisdom. But it was called Abu Jahl, the father of ignorance, due to his insistence on his belief. He didn't give up on all the practices that he believed were the right way of doing, the tribalism of the Arab at the time. So when he was on the ground, we have that a Muslim told him, repent now. You see that you were in majority, and that this man, the Prophet of God, was in minority, and Allah helped him. You see how the truth will prevail itself. Change. Believe. Repent. And he said, no, just make sure when you want to severe my, when it comes to severing my head, do it from a bit lower than my head will stick out. I have the one with the biggest head out there. This is the level of his ignorance to the end of it. So that's one side. And you have those who leave this dunya with grace. When you see the story of Shuhada, when you look at the story of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam and his companions, you see each of them, their departure of this dunya is more beautiful than the previous one. And you come to the peak of that beauty, the pinnacle of that beauty with the Sayyid al-Shuhada himself. But it's up to us if you understand. And again, in Quran, that's the balance, always. Quran talks about the dichotomy all the time. Always it talks about the threats and the weapons to defend yourself and the tools in order to harm yourself or to defend yourself. Always is the balance in Quran. If you look at Surah Hamd, Allah talks about the balance in Surah Hamd. You see, at the beginning of Surah Hamd, Allah talks about praising Himself, right? That our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. So the direction of the discussion with Allah in Surah Hamd is that we're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then at the end of it is the other side. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Now we praise Allah, now we recognize who Allah is, now we know what's His authority, now we ask Him for what we need. So the balance is there. They recited Ayatul Kursi, Surah Baqarah, right? Allah talks about Nur. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاهُمُ الطَّاغُوتِ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ is the balance. Either you're going from the light to darkness, you're going from misguidance to guidance, or you're going from light and nur to misguidance. It's up to you. The balance is there. And the return is absolutely the same story. Either you go with grace, with beauty, with peace, with calm, with tranquility, or the return will be the worst of the return. You will be scared, you will be fearful, you will be miserable based on how you lived. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, we have the tradition that he said about the grave. He said, your grave could be either one of the gardens of heaven, or it could be one of the holes of hell. Up to you. What kind of grave you prepared for yourself. Not, of course, what position. I've seen people really care about the position of the grave. They said, oh, Sheikh, as a kind of a compliment to himself, he came to me and said, oh, Sheikh, I bought this grave and it's under a shade of a tree. When I die, inshallah, and I'm buried there, it will be a tree on my grave. Which in reality, that does not make a difference. That will not be a shade in your real barzakh and the burial. You could be buried in the best of places, and we know better than anyone. Yes, we have to be buried properly, Islamically, the way Allah intend us to dispose this body. So I'm not saying bury wherever you want. It should face Qibla, it should have kafan, it should follow all the rituals and direction, because that's the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command is. But more than that, doesn't matter where you're buried. Hundreds of times I talk to people, please make sure that you write it in your wasiyah and your will, that they bury you properly. Say, Sheikh, amal is important, action is important. And I say, how do you think this is different? This is your final action. This is your final action. Final move that you make before death is to make sure the body that it was the gift of Allah, you're going to dispose it the way He intended. You cannot cremate it. You cannot do it whatever you want with it. There's a way that Allah asks you to return this body. That's your final action. And sometimes the family, unfortunately, I insist. And I said, make sure they're toward Qibla, make sure that, they're buried among the Muslims. This is a proper way. I said, Sheikh, it's too far from my workplace. I want to go on their grave every day. And I said, if they're buried properly and you don't visit their grave every day and you even visit them once a month, that's better for them and their soul than you bury them wrong and you go visit them every day. Even if you recite so many Fatiha, because they were not buried properly. That's a wajib. Visiting the grave is the mustahab, is recommended, but if they have to be buried toward Qibla, they have to be within a Muslim, at least a section designated for Muslim, that's wajib, that's not an option. And believe me or not, I was in a burial and the daughter of the person who was deceased told me, don't worry, Sheikh, I brought the Arafah soil. I'm going to put the Arafah soil in her kafan and she will be fine. And I said, in Arafah, you don't have permission to take the soil with you. You come all the way to Muzdalifah in Hajj. Arafah is the desert, right? You cannot pick up anything from there. You have to come to Muzdalifah, take the pebbles for the, hitting the symbolism of the shaitan hitting, right? But this is what, I don't know how we think of it. We create a version of our own religion. We become our own, self-appointed prophet. That we make a new version of Islam for ourselves. Which unfortunately it happens more often as we, compare with what we consider, unfortunately. So I want to give you a point of reference before I go to the second part, to inshallah talk about the dichotomy, talk about those who will go to the Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. They will return to Allah, they will go to Ma'ad with grace, with honor, with karama. But before that, I want to give you a reference, because our time is about lecture, but I want you to also read as well. It's highly recommended to study. If you can't read the whole thing, one page. Every day you can, once a week. Last night I mentioned about a few years ago, a young man came to me and said, Sheikh, while you're sitting here, we have to go and, support the Imam of our time. And I said, Alhamdulillah, where we have to go? I said, let's go. We have to go to Yemen. I said, Yemen? I said, yes. So why Yemen? I heard one of the signs of the Imam is that he will come in next to the Kaaba. It will be in Mecca. So no, but you heard Ahmad ibn al-Hassan is here. This is a few years ago. Probably I'm talking about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So who's Ahmad ibn al-Hassan? And then he showed me the website and showed me the clip and the video. I said, okay, let me first know who this person is and then start reading about him. And I figured out this person started from Iraq. At the beginning, he started with a different claim. At the beginning, he was, just one saying, I know about Imam Mahdi. And then he said, I meet Imam Mahdi. I have a, kind of a scheduled meeting with them. And then it said, I'm the door to Imam Mahdi. And then he become, I'm a family member of Imam Mahdi. And eventually came to this hadith that is a tradition that there will be 12 Mahdis. I'm one of those 12 Mahdis. It was a gradual process. Of course, he started having followers. There have been clashes, unfortunately, between the followers and others. And all is started in the name of Imam Mahdi. And he is not the first, he will not be the last. Those who took advantage of the name of Imam of our time, there are so many of them. We have from those who were appointed by the Imam to be the Na'ib of the Imam. They betrayed the Imam Mahdi. So it's not something shocking. We're not talking about Nawab Arba'a, the four specific one. No, there were others who were appointed and they betrayed the Imam. So there's nothing surprising. I told this man that you're going to he said, no, but he's a great speaker. Look at him, listen to what he says. I said, do you understand? He's speaking in Arabic. He said, but there's English subtitle. And I said, unfortunately, in his Arabic speeches, he has so many mistakes. It's not a proper Arabic that he speaks. But honestly, you have to give the credit when it's due. The English subtitle was great. It was nothing comparable with some of the Islamic book that they were translated to English. And I personally, every time I tried to read a page, it gave me a headache. I need a dictionary to understand a sentence because literally there's so many complicated words. But in this case, I don't know who's behind it. They did a great job. It was very fluent, smooth language, the subtitle. And I said, what he's saying is nothing new. He talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a wali. He talked about the wilayat of Allah. None of them are new. And then he implemented his own thing that he questioned the entire structure of Shia fiqh and Shia leadership and maraji. He implemented his own thing in the middle, but the core of it is what we say about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rule of Allah, the Prophet. You just, there are some tweaks that literally change the whole concept, that how you believe that we have to follow and practice Islam, especially from a perspective of School of Ahlul Bayt. And so, but this book is great. There was a PDF in English, and I don't encourage you to read it. It's a waste of time. What I told this person is, okay, it's a great book, but how many other books you read about Islam? He said none. I said, this is the first book you read about Islam? I said, yes. I said, how did you end up jumping from the basic of Islam to following one of the self-appointed considered successor of Imam Mahdi? Said on Facebook, one of his followers messaged me, and they're so kind and so supportive. They had a very great network at that time that they knew how to approach people, youth, especially in the West. Again, I don't know who are the people. Some of them could be just believing in what they did. Some of them could be paid to do what they did. I don't know. But I said, okay, let me tell you something. Read one book. I gave him one book. I said, I'm going to send you this PDF. Read this PDF, which is a very basic book in theology for the School of Ahlul Bayt. If you still thought that this book that he, according to you, published is better, then I will talk to you about it. Finished the book. He came back and said, how can I pray? He didn't know how to pray by that time. So sometimes we think that we know everything that we have to know, and we end up following a path that is not proper because of our limited knowledge. That's the reason you listen to so many lectures. If you never read a reference book, somebody, a charismatic speaker, which unfortunately doesn't have right intention, could misguide us in the name of Islam. So I give you a point of reference. So the topics that we discuss is mostly about akhlaq and ethic. And I said it's about relative, that akhlaq in our belief is not relative. So if you read this book, I think is a good beginning. The book called Mi'rajus Sa'ada. Mi'rajus Sa'ada, the ascension of felicity. There's another book, which if you consider it easy, then go to Jami'us Sa'adat, which is collection of felicities. That one is a bit longer. It's a good reference if you want to start with understanding of akhlaq and ethic. Start with Mi'rajus Sa'ada. If you think that's too easy for you, go to Jami'us Sa'adat. Mi'rajus Sa'ada is by Mullah Ahmad Naraqi. His father, Mullah Muhammad Mahdi Naraqi, is the one who did Jami'us Sa'adat, which is, as I say, is a bit more of an elaborative approach toward akhlaq. Talk about even different theories, going to all the way to Greek scholars, when it comes to Aristotle and so many, he discusses even those. But if you're looking for more of a practical approach, he talks about those qualities that we have to acquire, those we have to reject and eliminate. The Mi'rajus Sa'ad is a simple one. The Ascension to Felicity. Is a very simple book. A lot of people in Hausa, they start with that. So that's a reference book. You can take a look at it and you can read about it. Just don't read is a good start, practical step. It teaches you, okay, you have to start with this. These are some of the habits you have to start developing. These are some of the radha'il. We call them the flaws of character, the diseases of the soul that you have to get rid of. So that's a good book to start with. But inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, as I said last night, the more we know, the more responsibility comes with it. Give us the tawfiq of practicing whatever we learn from this book, from Quran, from the message of Allah, and have inshallah the strength to have the consistency, to be persistent in our practice with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So speaking of return, the return. The ayah I recited is the last verse of Surah Kahf. And this ayah, by the way, we have a hadith that if somebody wants to wake up for morning prayers, is a good ayah to recite. Ask Allah to help you to wake up. You set up the alarm and everything, you can also recite this ayah. That said, إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. O Prophet of God, say, indeed, I'm a bashar. I'm a human being made out of flesh like you. In reality, that again, some people argue when I translate this ayah, some people misunderstood that it means that Prophet is like us. Of course, this is not true. But when it comes to the way of the physical existence, he is flesh. In the battle of Uhud, when they attacked him, they broke his tooth, right? That he could be injured with the sword and with all the weapons at the time. So Prophet said, understand, my creation is like your creation. Means I'm as human as you are. I need to sleep, I need to eat, I need rest, I will be injured, I will get sick. So that's something. But in character, لولاك لما خلقت الأفلاك. When it comes to character, when it comes to the personality, when it comes to him as a human being, Allah said, I created everything because of you. So in that level, no one is like Prophet. Even Amir al-Mu'min Ali ibn Abi Talib said, أَنَا عَبْدٌ مِّنْ عَبِيدِ Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, right? If I ask the brothers, inshallah, to come a bit forward to create some more space with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The ayah, right? If you make space for people in majalis, Allah inshallah will reciprocate, and Allah inshallah will reward for that. So another move with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Jazakumullah khair. So at the beginning, Allah said, Prophet, this is what you have to declare. And said, my Allah, my Lord, there is no one but Him. Yuha ilayya. What makes me different is that I'm the recipient of revelation. Right? Yuha ilayya. Annama ilahukum ilahun wahid. Indeed, our ilah, the one that we consider the one that is worthy of worship, is one. And then come to this. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. The one who have hope that they will meet the Lord. لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ means that eventually you believe after death there will be an encounter between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that Allah is waiting for you, Allah is everywhere, but we believe after death, everybody believe in Allah, even the non-believers. So if you have that hope, means that sometimes there's yaqeen, there's certainty, but sometimes you know it is, but maybe you don't have the yaqeen, the absolute certainty, but you know there is something. There is some form of encounter between you and a superior being. So if that's the case, فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ, what do you have to do? فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. So if you believe in the return, if you believe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ultimate judgment, then this is a command. Then you must do what is right. then you must occupy yourself with what we consider amalus salih, righteous deeds. Not just action, because we're busy. Nobody's, here, literally they waste a lot of their time. Everybody has some form of responsibility, school, work, family. Sometimes, you see people have conversation regarding, I didn't see you last night in the majlis, why didn't come? I said, I was busy, and I have work. So yeah, we know you have work. Other people are, a group of people with nothing to do, they are the one that are coming. It's about priorities. Everybody are responsible for something. But Quran said, Amil, the one who's active, Amilatun Nasiba. They are actively occupying themselves, they're busy, but Nasiba is not going to benefit them. Umar ibn Sa'd was investing, right? He was active against Imam Hussein. Abu Sufyan invested a lot of money in the Battle of Badr against the Prophet. Today, so many money are invested to promote Islamophobia, to promote racism, to promote so many different irrational form of fears. Their money being invested in this, right? But nasiba is going to be wasteful. But amalus salih, the righteous deed, are the action that they will have benefit. That's a big difference. So فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Don't associate anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ma'ad, the belief in the return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, must be a form of motivation to make us more active toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything we do is righteous. We make sure what we do is good. So the purpose of believing in Ma'ad, Day of Judgment, Qiyamah, Barzakh, or death in general is not to stop people from being active. It's not to create a society of passive citizens. It's opposite of that. فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Allah said, if you believe that you come to me, you will meet me, then you have to do things. You don't want to be here with empty-handed. You have to occupy yourself, busy yourself, but with good. Another ayah is in Surah Baqarah. Allah talks about Talut and Goliath, or Jalut. You heard about the Dawood, right? And we have that when people at the time of Dawood alayhi salam, they asked for a leader. Allah appointed someone called, in English they call him Saul, and in Arabic call him Talut, right? Talut was, according to Quran, the one who was appointed to be the leader of the army against Jalut, Goliath. When Allah appointed him, people start complaining. First they said, God, send us someone. And Allah said, okay, this is the man. Go with Talut. They said, him? We deserve to be the leader, not him. Why? كَم مِّن سَعَةٍ مِّنَ الْمَالِ. He has no money. He's not wealthy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because of ilmi wal jism, because of his knowledge and because of his strength, we picked him. He's the right leader for you. So people look for excuse to ignore the leadership of Talut. First they said, he doesn't have money. He doesn't have money. Even today, sometimes in our communities, I've heard it with my own ears, that somebody would deserve to be the leader in a community, some to have a position in the board or something. So this guy doesn't have money. He's not a businessman. Or we're concerned that maybe he will be tempted. It happens, this mentality that if somebody have money, they will be good. It means because the more money you have, you will feel satisfied, you will not be convinced, you will not convince yourself to steal, when in reality, I believe, you should know that better than me, with the depression, deep depression, and all these great collapses of the banking system. You should know the rich people are the one actually making the biggest bites, right? When it comes to stealing, they are the one who actually making the great amount of harm and damage to people. So that was their first excuse. Then Allah said, go with them. He's the right leader for you. And this Allah said, we will test them. On their way to meet the enemy, they said there will be water. The command of Allah is to don't drink from this water. There will be a river on your way. You will be thirsty. You're marching in so many days. Don't drink from this water. We want to see how much obedient, how much you follow order, to prove it to you that if you are saying that we want to fight against the oppressor, we're tired of Jalut, we need some help, God send us help, we give you leadership and we promise you victory, but we want to know if you are ready to follow through with the order of God. And Quran said, what happened? Majority drank from the water. Illa qalila, except a minority. And then I come to the point that is related to Ma'ad, the return. Then Allah said, when we actually we came, so I said, okay, you failed this test, but let's proceed. Just understand that you have to follow through. You have to have that compliance with the order of the leader, Talut. When they faced the enemy, they saw that, the Goliath army is big and they are the one that they consider themselves weak. And they said, how are we going to face him? We have no chance. We're going to lose. We're going to lose. Again, this is majority again. Majority said we have no chance. And Allah said, those يَظُنُّونَ أَنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُ اللَّهِ, those that they knew that they will meet Allah. Means from all the part of the belief, and the ayah said those who believe they will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were the one who did not give up. They were still persistent and they did not leave the ground. And they were the one who said, كَم مِّن فِئَةٍ قَلِيلَةٍ غَلَبَتْ فِئَةً كَثِيرَةً بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Those who believe that they will meet Allah, they said there's so many minorities that they will defeat the majorities and Allah will be with the patients. So believe in Ma'ad will push us, make us active. Number 2 is believe in Day of Judgment. Believe in the return and meeting Allah. Pushes us to be strong and don't give up easily. Even if your enemy, your opposition is greater than you. I've heard this so many times. When we look at the world, when we see the politics, when we see the governments, when you see the majority being silent, when oppression is happening, we give up. And I've heard people say, yeah, you think that you're sitting in your masjid with a couple of hundred people and there are millions of people out there do their own thing. How is that going to make a difference? We have to think big. You heard of that? This is statement? You have to think big. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, you have to change the way you do things. So if you mean to give up our values, our principles, I can't, because that's not up to me. And the belief of us is that when Rasulullah started was a minority. When Sayyidina Shuhada stood against Umar ibn Sa'd and Yazid was a minority. When look at the life of all of our Imams, is always in minority and they never accepted the defeat. Neither they changed themselves or their values. And now we see that more than 20 million people go for Arba'in. That's some form of that significance and number that you see. But that comes when people's belief in the return to Allah is strong. If we are sure that we meet Allah, everybody believes they die. That's not the concept. Ma'ad is not dying. Everybody knows that they die. They cannot lie to themselves. Every sane person knows mortality is a reality. But the point is, when it comes to Ma'ad, how many believe that there is a God, there is a life after death, there is a questioning, there is a qiyamah? That's the big difference. If you believe there is, the majority will not scare you. We have Sayyidina Shuhada alayhi salam faced Umar ibn Sa'd. He said, "Ama tattaqillah alladhi ilayhi ma'aduk." Why you don't fear God? Why you have no taqwa? You know that your return will be to Allah, but still you do what you do? So we see the reason Umar ibn Sa'd, according to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, accepted and convinced himself to go against the only grandson of the Prophet, the master of the youth of paradise, the one who was a playmate of him at the young age, is because his iman, according to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, to Ma'ad is weak. He forgot that his return is to Allah. He think about the ray, he think about this dunya, all he cares is here. Nothing more than that. And when we have later on, when they attacked the camp of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, the tents of the family of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, so أَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ, are you not afraid of the return to Allah? If you have no religion, then at least be free men. The first statement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is, أَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ, why you're not scared of Ma'ad, the return to Allah? When we talk about Ma'ad, it becomes so, for some of us, we say Ma'ad. For some awliya Allah, when they hear Ma'ad, they cry. The son of Sheikh Abbas Qummi, the one who's collector of Mafati al-Janan, Mantah al-Amal, all these, so many famous books that we use is from him, Sheikh Abbas Qummi. Said, I heard my dad, he was reciting Surah Yasin. When he reached this ayah, هَذِهِ جَهَنَّمُ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ, this is the hell, this is a punishment that we promise for those who deserve. His tears doesn't let him continue. I saw that he went again and again, but because of, again, his pain and his sorrow, he wasn't able to finish the ayah. This is what Ma'ad is. Abdullah ibn Rawaha in the Battle of Mu'tah is one of the companions of Rasulullah. He is injured as a moment of his shahada. It's a moment of leaving this dunya. We have that companion came to him, said, and he noticed that he's crying. Abdullah ibn Rawaha is crying. So why you're crying? You should have a strong iman, you should not be scared of anything, you're a shaheed. Said, the tears is not for that I'm afraid of death. The tears is that I don't know if I've done enough, if I'm ready to meet my Lord or not. That's what khawf of a mu'min is, the fear of a mu'min. That a mu'min always is between fear and hope. You have hope in Allah's mercy, but you're not so sure of yourself that you say, there is no need of tawbah for me. There's always that khawf that maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should do more. Either, if they take over, it will lead us to misguidance and deviance. Too much hope, we heard it so many times. Allah is Kareem. Allah is merciful. Allah will forgive. Allah is not such, a cruel God. He's a merciful God. Rahman, Rahim. So much hope convinces us to commit sin. Extreme hope. Extreme hope. Exaggerated hope. But Quran says, if you hope that you will meet Allah, amalan salihah. You cannot say Allah is merciful because you say, okay, when you are thinking of meeting Allah, say Allah is merciful. Said, فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. You have to do good. Don't just play with words and justify your mistakes and laziness because Allah is merciful. So much fear also is leading to deviance. Oh, there's no chance for me. I know it's too late for me. Allah will not forgive me. That's also not permissible. We have one of the greatest sin is yes, right? Hopelessness from Allah's mercy. So there's no hope for me. Make sure in Muharram, if somebody doesn't show up in majalis, they come one night, they come just only in Muharram. Don't cut the last string between them and Allah. Don't push them to hopelessness. Oh, do you think that one night of Ashura you come and you will go to heaven? You think you only come in Muharram and you will be Muslim? You call yourself a Muslim, you only come in Muharram? That's not the tone. Of course, we don't encourage anyone to be a seasonal Muslim. They have to be Muslim all the time, but maybe this is the beginning for them. Maybe this is it. Maybe they didn't come and they were somewhere else doing good. It's not a classroom that we have a, participant sheet. Okay, well, you were here last night or not? So make sure don't push people to hopelessness. We need the balance. But this balance, it happens in life. So when we say ma'ad, when we say return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it must shake us. We have the Salman al-Farisi, they call also Salman al-Muhammadi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, recite salawat, Allahumma. He was there when Rasulullah recited the verses from Surah Zalzala. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. And then Rasulullah recited this, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. By the way, the word dharra, in Arabic language, they said it refers to the smallest thing at the time, the atom. And in Quran, Allah talks about something even smaller than atom. So that's one of the beauties of Quran. That in the time, 1400 years ago, they would talk about the smallest particle in the universe, atom, right? Dharra. Even today in Arabic language, dharra means atom. And Quran said, atom, dharra, and what is smaller than dharra, which today we know that actually is a possibility. It's a very recent discovery. Said what we consider even as smaller than atom is in compliance and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in that ayah, when Rasulullah recited, said your smallest good, smallest particle of good or evil will be rewarded and punishable. Salman asked, Ya Rasulullah, is that about everyone? And Rasulullah said, yes, it's about everyone. He said, even about you, Ya Rasulullah? He said, yes, even about me. And we have that the moment he heard this, for a second he thought of it and he fainted. He collapsed. Salman is not someone you don't consider brave. He's the mastermind behind the battle of Ahzab. He's the man of battle. But he collapsed. And when he came back to his senses and they talked to him, and Rasulullah told him, that's true, but remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats us with mercy, not with justice. Because Allah said, if you do wrong, just one sin, right? Man ja'a bis-sayyi'ah, if somebody commits evil, it will be just equivalent of the evil punishable. But if man ja'a bil-hasanati falahu ashru amthala, if you do good, you will be rewarded 10 times more, even in some verses, hundreds times more. So that's the way Allah compensates, to have hope in His mercy. Yes, every dharra will count, but your good will be heavier before Allah. But just thinking of that every dharra of good or bad will be accountable, it makes us more careful. Then we will be more quiet. Am I going to say this? Is it something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish me? Is it something that will be for khair? And imagine more than that. So inshallah, I'll continue this topic tomorrow night. Just remember the reference, and remember when we talk about death, we're not talking about the, dying. We're talking about ma'ad, the return. And that's the purpose of the topic. The whole majalis, inshallah, will be surrounding this topic to increase our iman, our certainty toward the return, how we prepare ourselves for that return. As Imam Ali alayhi salam said, tajahhazu. Equip yourself. Take what you need. Imagine if you are going for a camping, tajahhazu means take the jahaz, take what you need, what's necessary. And then Imam alayhi salam said, indeed, the call of basically the one who called for the departure is getting closer. قَدْ نُودِيَ رَحِيلُكُمْ. It's like when in a train station or in airport, when there's a call, okay, you have to come. The gate is closing, you have to be here. قَدْ نُودِيَ رَحِيلُكُمْ. The call is getting closer. So be ready. How to do it? The tradition said, treat every good that you do as the last good. When you pray, salatu muwaddi'in, pray like the person that this is the last prayer that you do. Talk to your mom, talk the way that is, God forbid, could be the last time you talk to her. Talk to your husband like the last time you talk to your husband. To your wife, last time you talk to your wife. If we treat it that way, we will be more careful what we say. We stop holding less grudges, less hatred. We become more forgiving. Because that's the nature of dunya. I finished with this hadith of the Prophet. Prophet said, Ma'ad, believe in the return to Allah. The Ma'ad softens the heart. Softens. Make your tab'a, make your character soft. You will not be stubborn anymore. The more you think of it. You will not have ill manners anymore. But if you're a person, all you think about dunya, you see it, the people really, they could consider themselves entrepreneur. The one that they start making some money, you cannot talk to them. Stop wasting my time. I'm too busy. Even to their family, they don't have time. Not everyone, there are exceptions, but I'm talking about people that sometimes we encounter, some of them. But the one who believe in Ma'ad, you see they have time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to take advantage of every second, every minute, every hour of our lives, to spend it for amal salih, for the righteous deed, to don't waste our times with useless deeds, to remember that ultimately what will help us is our faith and amal and action together. We will fly with these two wings. There is no third one. And there's so many opportunities to do good deeds. I will do in 1 minute, I will do the musibah. The tradition, the one who cries for Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, Rasulullah said. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam said. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam said. We're the one who guaranteed the reward. So don't use any moment. Don't consider any good deed insignificant. Any good deed. Greed is bad, right? Hirs is bad in general. But there's one exception that Allah said, be greedy for good. He said, as-sabiqun as-sabiqun, ulaika al-muqarrabun. Compete. When you just say there's one good that you can do, compete one another to get there first. Be greedy to get there first. If there is something good, don't lose the opportunity. Because we have that, it will cause regret. Let's say salam to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Tonight we dedicate the thawab of our majlis to another shaheed, another young martyr of the day of Ashura, the son of Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, Hazrat Qasim ibn al-Hassan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be worthy of the shafa'ah and intercession of Abu Abdullah and his companions, and increase the love of Ahlul Bayt, increase the love of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in our hearts, and never separate us from the Quran and from the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet until our last breath. Close your eyes and imagine you're standing in front of the ziyarah and the haram of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And we say this salam. We have the Imam Sadiq said, anytime you want to do the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, and the tradition is that go to the roof. But in our time, again, a lot of us don't have the chance to do, don't have access to such a place, but just in outdoor, place your hand as a way of respect on your heart, and they say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah 3 times, and Allah will convey your salam to Aba Abdullah. So we say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah 3 times before I continue the salam. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاده وعلى Qasim ibn al-Hassan came forward. The first one who went from Bani Hashim, as I said last night, was Ali al-Akbar. So Qasim came after. He came to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and he asked for permission. This is, by the way, a manner of true follower, true Shia. You ask for permission. Even when we go to ziyarah, there is idhn dukhul. You ask permission to enter even the mausoleum, the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt. He asked for permission, and Imam alayhi salam looked at him. The gift of his brother Hassan alayhi salam is young. For Ali al-Akbar is his son, but he is the Ibrahim, from the descendant of Ibrahim. Now, he did not hesitate to send Ali al-Akbar. But this is different. This is the son of his brother. We have that question was asked from him, Qasim, do you know even what's death? You know that when you face this enemy, you're facing death? And he said, Al-mawtu indi ahla min al-asal. Death for me is sweeter, tastier than honey. I know what's facing me. But Imam didn't give him a permission. We have that he returned, waited, and he come back again. Ask again. This time he said, you know, my father Hassan is not here today. If he was, he wouldn't leave you alone. Do you expect the son of Hassan to leave you alone at this time? And we have in the Maqatil that at that moment Abu Abdullah and Hussein hugged them. They cried very hard. That they, in the Maqtal said that they saw that the tears of Abu Abdullah is falling from his beard. He granted him the permission. He's the one who walked a few steps behind Qasim, and he went to the battle. He came to the battle, and again, enemies, like all the other companions of Sayyid al-Shuhada, they're running away. Nobody can face to face, one-to-one with Qasim ibn al-Hassan. We have that one of the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'd said, Umar ibn Sa'd, let my son kill this young man. And he said, I'm not a man if I don't leave the pain, the loss of this young man on the heart of Hussein. So he went and he sent his son first. Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam is from Bani Hashim, is trained well like Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. With one strike, didn't let the son to even attempt attacking him. He sent his second son. And Qasim ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam did the same thing that he did to his brother. And Umar ibn Sa'd mocked him, said, oh, you thought that you can defeat Bani Hashim that easy? These are not the people you can face, one-to-one in one-on-one battle. So the father who saw the death of his son, he went and he asked the other soldiers to attack him from the front. And as he's busy fighting from the front, and the Maqta said that he came with long spears and hit him and stabbed him in the back. He fell from the horse, and imagine a young man who's just being stabbed, still persisting to defend. The enemies now, they have no chance to get a hold of him. We have that Umar ibn Sa'd ordered that those who were prepared to take advantage of a chance that this man turning his back to them, to stab him again. The second time Qasim ibn al-Hasan alayhi salam was hit by the spears, he fell on the ground, and that was the enemies, like vultures, they attack him from everywhere. Everyone is striking him with the sword, everything. At that moment, we have that Abu Abdullah Hussein was not able to see the body of Qasim until the call of Qasim rise. Ya Amma, my uncle Hussein, come to me. Ya Abu Abdullah, come to Qasim. And when Abu Abdullah, we have like a lion. He rushed toward the place of the call of Qasim. He pushed the enemy away, and now he saw Qasim alayhi salam is dragging his feet on the ground out of the pain and out of the suffering. We have that at that moment, Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam picked up the body of Qasim alayhi salam and comforting Qasim, my dear Qasim, don't worry, soon you will visit your grandfather Rasulullah. Soon you will visit your father Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam. Soon you will visit your mother, your grandmother Fatima Zahra. Qasim, prepare yourself for the greatest of news of the God and the glad tidings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have that he held the body and brought the body of Qasim back to the tent. And the first one who greeted Abu Abdullah Hussein was Zainab al-Kubra, salamullah alayha. And when she saw that Abu Abdullah is coming with the body of Qasim, she is the one walking by the side of Hussein, just making sure that Hussein alayhi salam doesn't feel that he's alone. There is no Ali Akbar, there is no Qasim for Hussein, but Zainab is still alive at that moment. This symbol of patience at that second makes sure Abu Abdullah doesn't feel that she's by himself. But Ya Abu Abdullah, you were not in Kufa, you were not in Sham. When they brought the Zainab to the court of Yazid, and all the strangers are looking at Zainab, and when we have that they returned Zainab salamullah alayha to Medina, her husband came and approached. He's looking for Zainab, and we have that even he passed by Zainab, he didn't recognize Zainab. Zainab salamullah alayha called, you did not recognize your wife Zainab? You know what happened to Zainab? You know what was the greatest tragedy for Zainab? Zainab al-Kubra didn't say the greatest pain for me was the loss of my sons, the loss of my brother Abbas, the loss of my brother Hussein. Said, you know what was the greatest tragedy for me? That's the word of Zainab to her husband. You were not in the court of Yazid when they took us in chains, and all the strangers, all the non-mahram are watching us. They removed the ma'ja from our head, and the children of Hussein at that moment they are the one that they have no protector beside us. You were not there, my husband. That moment that they placed the head of my brother Hussein in front of Yazid, and he was the one striking the head of Abu Abdullah.
وألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط